Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. When I first met my wife, Laura, she was radiant. She had an elegance about her that drew people in, and I was no exception. I was a regular guy working as an IT technician, and she was a receptionist at a high-end law firm. Laura loved the finer things in life. Luxury handbags, designer shoes, and lavish vacations were her idea of happiness. I admired her ambition and taste, even if I couldn't always keep up with it. We dated for a year before getting married. The wedding was modest, because I simply couldn't afford the kind of grandeur she envisioned. Over time, her complaints about our finances started to become a common theme in our marriage. She would compare me to her friends' husbands, who were buying their wives Cartier bracelets and Hermes bags. I couldn't help but feel inadequate. Laura, of course, always reassured me that she understood my limitations, but the resentment in her voice was impossible to ignore. Despite our differences, I truly loved her. I worked overtime, skipped personal luxuries, and saved every penny to try and give her a better life. I thought my sacrifices mattered, that they proved my devotion. But it seemed Laura's love for me was conditional on what I could provide. She constantly hinted at wanting more, subtly, and not so subtly, pushing me to chase promotions or find ways to increase my income. Her dreams always revolved around luxury, not commitment. Our lives took an unexpected turn when her uncle, Gregory, passed away. Gregory was a reclusive man in his 60s. He'd been married once but had no children, and his wife had died years before. He and Laura weren't close. In fact, I'd only heard her mention him a handful of times over the years. Gregory was known as the black sheep of his family, a successful businessman who had distanced himself from everyone. So when he passed away, we were shocked to learn that Laura was his sole heir. She inherited millions, cash, real estate, and investments. The transformation in Laura was shocking. Suddenly, our world changed. Laura didn't need me anymore. The excuses she gave for filing for divorce were almost laughable. She claimed she wanted a fresh start, that we had grown apart, and that she wanted to rediscover herself. But the real gut punch came when she admitted she had never truly loved me. "You were comfortable," she said, with a tone that was equal parts dismissive and cruel. "But I deserve more." To her credit, Laura left me the house and our joint savings. "You can have all this," she said. "I don't need it anymore." And just like that, she was gone. I was devastated, but I was determined not to give up and become a better version of myself. I kept the house, worked on my career, and eventually started to move on. I had no contact with Laura for years, until recently. At first, Laura seemed to flourish in her new life. She moved into a luxury penthouse, bought designer clothes, and took extravagant vacations. Social media became her stage, where she flaunted her newfound wealth in an endless stream of posts. Friends, both real and fake, flocked to her. I heard through mutual friends that she was dating someone, a businessman who showered her with gifts. I tried to be happy for her, as it was all she ever dreamed of and wanted. Months passed without any contact from Laura. I was doing my best to move on, even though I couldn't help but occasionally check her social media and see her living the high life. Then, one cold evening, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, there she was, Laura, looking nothing like the glamorous woman she once was. Her eyes were red and puffy, looked like she had lost a lot of weight as well. "Please," she said, begging, "can I come in?" I hesitated, but eventually stepped aside. She sat on the couch, clutching her hands together as if she were trying to hold herself together. After a long silence, she began to speak. She told me everything. It started months earlier when a man named Michael showed up at her penthouse claiming to be Gregory's son. At first, she thought it was a scam, but Michael had documents and details that matched her uncle's life. He explained that he was the product of an affair Gregory had during his marriage. His mother, Gregory's mistress, had told him the truth only after Gregory's death. She revealed that Gregory had known about the pregnancy, but had demanded she terminate it, telling her he doesn't want the baby and that he will never leave his wife. So Michael's mother decided to raise Michael alone, far from Gregory's world, assuring Gregory she got rid of the baby and ending their relationship. Michael had grown up with little, knowing only that his father was a wealthy man who wanted nothing to do with him. After Gregory's passing, Michael decided to investigate and discovered Laura had inherited everything. He was furious and determined to claim his rightful share. Laura told me how she tried to dismiss him, claiming the money was hers. Michael didn't back down. He hired lawyers and demanded a DNA test. Laura said she agreed, confident that nothing would come of it. But the results confirmed that Michael was indeed Gregory's biological son. The lawsuit that followed was a nightmare. Michael's lawyers painted Laura as a greedy opportunist who had taken advantage of an estranged relative's death to enrich herself. Pictures of her lavish vacations, her designer wardrobe, and her penthouse were presented in court. Michael initially offered her a deal, split the inheritance, and he would drop the lawsuit. But Laura, ever the opportunist, refused. She argued that Gregory had known about Michael and still didn't leave anything to him. "I thought I could win," she said. But the court ruled in Michael's favor, awarding him all the inheritance. The money Laura had spent so freely wasn't hers to begin with. Between the legal fees, the court-ordered payout to Michael, Laura was left with nothing. Apparently, Laura's friends abandoned her. Her boyfriend dumped her the moment she lost the case. "I have nothing," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I made a mistake. I was wrong about everything. I should have gave him half of the inheritance." I listened silently, my emotions a mix of vindication, pity, and disbelief. When she finally stopped talking, she looked at me with pleading eyes. "I have nowhere else to go," she whispered. "Please, let me stay. I don't deserve it, but I don't know what else to do." I couldn't help but laugh. "You left because you thought you didn't need me," I said. "Now you want me to save you? After everything you've done?" She sobbed, insisting she had changed, that she regretted her choices. She begged for another chance, promising she would be different. But I wasn't the man she left behind anymore. Her betrayal had hardened me, and I had no intention of letting her back into my life. "I'm sorry," I told her, "but you made your choice, and now you have to live with it." She begged, but I stood firm. For years I had tried to be enough for Laura, but her greed and ambition had blinded her to what really mattered. Now she was reaping what she'd sown. In the end, I realized that her leaving was the best thing that could have happened to me. It allowed me to see her true colors and finally move on. I've started focusing on building a life where I'm valued for who I am, not for what I can provide. It's not about wealth or status. It's about peace, dignity, and mutual respect. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for laughing in my ex-wife's face and refusing to take her back? Honestly, this feels like a movie plot where karma comes full circle. She spent years making OP feel inadequate because OP couldn't give her the luxury lifestyle she wanted. She left OP the moment she didn't need him anymore, which shows her love was conditional from the start. Now that the tables have turned, she wants OP to take her back and fix her life? No way. She never appreciated the sacrifices OP made to try to make her happy, and now she expects him to pick up the pieces after her greed and arrogance cost her everything. She didn't come back because she loves OP. She came back because she has nowhere else to go. OP is not her safety net or backup plan. Honestly, her downfall feels like karma in its purest form. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Absolutely not the a-hole. Laura didn't just leave you. She crushed your spirit on her way out the door. She made you feel inadequate for not being able to provide the life she wanted. And now that her luxurious lifestyle has evaporated, she expects you to welcome her back with open arms? No way. You gave her everything you could, and instead of appreciating it, she traded you in for what she thought was an upgrade. Now she's realizing that wealth and status don't replace loyalty, love, and integrity. Her regret doesn't erase the pain she caused you, and you're under no obligation to help her fix her mistakes. Keep moving forward. You're better off without her. Her audacity is honestly unbelievable. She walked away from your marriage because she thought money would buy her happiness, only to come crawling back when her poor choices left her with nothing. And let's not forget, she didn't just leave quietly. She told you outright that you weren't good enough for her. That's a wound that doesn't just disappear because she's suddenly in need. It's clear she only values people for what they can do for her, and you deserve so much better than that. Not the a-hole, not by a long shot. Let her figure out her own life, just like she forced you to do when she walked away. Not the a-hole. Forgiveness might be possible, but taking her back? Absolutely not. She didn't just break your heart. She shattered your trust and made you feel like you were nothing more than a stepping stone for her ambitions. Even when she left, it wasn't with dignity. She flaunted her wealth, rubbed her new life in your face, and acted like she was untouchable. Now that karma has caught up with her, she suddenly remembers your value? No. You've rebuilt your life, and you've learned your worth. She made her choices, and now she has to deal with the consequences. Don't let her drag you back into the mess she created. Stand firm. You owe her nothing. My, female 25, brother Mike, male 29, started dating Grace, female 30, in high school, and their relationship has been on and off. They officially date for a few months, break up, get back together, so on and so forth for the past 10+ years. Even while broken up, they still do everything together, like come to family events, Christmas, go on vacations, etc. However, they both date other people during their breakups. Their relationship is textbook definition of it's complicated. Grace and I are extremely close, since I've known her for so long and she feels like a sister to me. Me and my fiancé, male 28, are getting married July 2023. Grace and Mike broke up again 3 months ago. Mike has been dating a new girl, Sarah, female 28, for 2 months. I really want Grace to be a bridesmaid in my wedding, since she's one of my closest friends and my bridal party would feel incomplete without her. I talked to both Grace and Mike about it individually, and they're both really excited for her to be a bridesmaid. Mike told me he'll be bringing Sarah as his +1, if they're still together by then, his own words. Everybody is cool with this arrangement, except for Sarah. I've never met Sarah because we just haven't been introduced yet, but I had nothing against her until this. She found me on Facebook and sent me a message. She was furious. She said that having Grace as a bridesmaid would be in poor taste, and that it would send the wrong message since Sarah herself is reduced to nothing but Mike's +1. She said it seems like Grace is more part of the family than she is. I pointed out that Grace is my close friend, and Sarah only just started dating Mike. She said since Grace is an ex, then that friendship needs to die. I went off on her that she has no right to dictate my friendship or wedding choices, since I've never even spoken to her prior to this convo, and that being jealous and controlling isn't a cute look. I told her she'll be lucky to even be a +1 at all, because there's a good chance Mike will dump her before the wedding even rolls around. She bombarded me with messages calling me a massive "see you next Tuesday," and that I'm being selfish for purposefully excluding her in favor of Mike's ex. I screenshotted and sent them to Mike, and he agreed she's just being super jealous, but to just ignore it because she'll get over it over time. Friends and family are split. Some agree that it was a super controlling move on Sarah's part, but others think she has the right to be wary of the situation and that I didn't need to be rude. My fiancé agrees that she's super controlling and suggested rescinding her invite, but ultimately, I care about having my brother there so he can bring whoever he wants. Plus, I highly doubt they'll still be together by then anyway. So am I the a-hole for having Grace as a bridesmaid and for going off on Sarah like that? She said it seems like Grace is more part of the family than she is. Yes, because she is. Despite not being together with your brother anymore, she has been. Plus, she is a close friend of you. Sarah can't demand you to erase or trump your friendship because she is insecure. Not the a-hole. Holy crap, this chick is bossy. Reduced to nothing but Mike's +1? Freaking duh. Random girl who has only been dating bro for 2 months? Not the a-hole. Sarah needs to end the relationship now because she is looking for long-term and Mike is only looking for short-term. Grace isn't an ex, really. They are still partners after 10 years of at very least friendship. So of course, as your friend too, she will be in the wedding. The funniest thing about it is that my brother is honestly not a shady dude. He's very honest with all these temp relationships that he has, and he tells them he's not looking for anything serious. They've all been aware that him and Grace are so close, and been fine with it, because he doesn't really bother unless the girls are also looking for short-term fun. I feel for Sarah that she might just really like him, and hope more will come out of it, but I'm confident Mike has been honest with her, and she just might be getting her hopes up. He's not looking for anything serious, but is down to bring her as his +1 to a major family event? If she's not important, why is she coming at all? My husband, 37 male, and I, 37 female, have been married for a little over a year. We both have kids from previous relationships. My husband has 2 kids, 6 male and 4 female. I also have 2 kids, 19 male and 17 female. My 19-year-old son is off at college, but my 17-year-old daughter lives with us. Like any blended family, there have been some growing pains and adjustments for everyone. But up until now, we've been able to work through any issues together. My daughter, Anne, is going through a rebellious phase. A couple weeks ago, she got caught sneaking out and taking the car that my husband and I got her. We grounded her for 2 weeks for it. Like most teens, she felt we were being too harsh and that since she is going to turn 18 in about a month, she should be able to do whatever she wants. On Saturday, I was out shopping with some friends while everyone else was at home. My husband got a call from his mom after she got a flat tire on a rural road. We live in a pretty rural area. She asked him to come help her change it. My husband asked Anne if she could watch the kids while he went to help his mom. Anne refused and said his kids weren't her problem. They started to argue, and my husband told Anne that if she doesn't help him with this, then he will have to talk to me about extending the grounding punishment. So Anne eventually relented. When my husband got home about an hour later, both his kids were in tears. They were asking him if what Anne said about Santa was true. Apparently, Anne had told his kids that Santa wasn't real, and that the gifts they get on Christmas morning are from their parents, not from Santa. He confronted Anne about it, and she apparently told him that they would have found out the truth sooner or later anyway. When I got home, my husband immediately confronted me and said that we need to do something about Anne's behavior because she ruined Christmas for his kids. He said that he wants to return presents that we have already bought for Anne and send her to her dad's for the holidays because he doesn't want her around his kids during Christmas after what she did. I talked with Anne about it, and she said she was frustrated that she had to babysit when she's already being punished, and that my husband should have just taken the kids with him because they aren't her responsibility. I asked my husband why he didn't just take the kids with, and he said if he had taken them with, it would have taken him longer to help his mom, and that he was barely gone for an hour. He said that Anne's behavior is unacceptable, and if I don't agree with his punishment for her, then he will take his kids to his parents for Christmas, and I can spend it with Anne alone. I told him that if he had just taken the kids with him, then this wouldn't have happened, and that he needs to accept some responsibility for this as well, and not put it all on Anne. She knows what she did was wrong, and she apologized after the fact, but my husband is refusing to budge on his punishments. Everyone sucks here. Families help each other in emergencies. Anne was being purely selfish by refusing to help out her stepfather when he needed her. The babysitting wasn't a punishment. It was a responsibility which she blew. She was casually cruel out of spite. You are the a-hole for insisting Anne should be allowed to do nothing during a family emergency, while her stepfather does all the work, and ignoring her cruelty to your stepchildren. Your husband is the a-hole for using Christmas as a punishment, and trying to break up the family for the holidays. The only people here who aren't being horrible are the poor kids. You're the a-hole. Your daughter was acting spiteful for being asked to spend an hour babysitting kids, while your husband took care of his mother's emergency. She intentionally ruined Christmas for the kids to spite him, and you just want to sweep it under the rug as no harm, no foul. You need to at least decide on some form of punishment to let her know this type of behavior is not okay. You're even blaming your husband for her toxic behavior, as you believe he was responsible to take 2 children for a tire change in the middle of nowhere, instead of just asking your daughter to watch them for a single hour. Everyone sucks here. Anne didn't have to ruin the Santa secret, and you didn't have to enable Anne by agreeing that your husband should have taken the kids when the task was faster without them. And shucks, Anne had to babysit for a whopping hour. But your husband might be the biggest a-hole for the emotional manipulation. Marital fights happen, but threatening to skip out on Christmas with your family, for better or worse, is a red flag. Y'all would benefit from family counseling. I, 28 female, recently got my baby son. After years of trying, I finally was able to have a child on my own. I struggled to get pregnant several years, but luckily, I had my husband Michael by my side to support. I was lucky though, in the sense that Michael works an extremely well-paid job, so we could afford expensive stuff for an unborn baby. But for some reason that annoyed my stepsister Joy, 30 female, a lot. She has 4 kids on her own and had a miscarriage, which I wasn't aware of until I set my baby room up. I tried to be very cautious about this topic with her, since I know how painful it can be at times. Michael and I accommodate her a lot during those times. I let her stay in our house when her husband kicked her out, since he has alcohol issues. I tried to buy her things to cheer her up. Michael even offered her husband a job, but they denied because it doesn't pay enough, etc. The first time Joy made me uncomfortable was when she arrived to my house once with her toddler and saw my unborn baby nursery at the time. She then revealed that she had a miscarriage and that it was insensitive of me to do those things whilst she was going through grief. I apologized and tried to change the subject. She then asked me not to post anything about my son on social media and asked me not to have a baby shower because we can't be that cruel to do such a thing when her family's going through a grief. I told her that she has nothing to worry about since my husband and I were not planning to do a baby shower to begin with. Second time when disaster happened was when I took Joy and her 4 kids in because she had an argument with her husband. Result, her kids destroyed my baby room, ruined walls, ended up breaking crib and baby swing, and ended up painting on most of my baby's clothes. My stepsister only said, "They're just kids being kids." Fast forward when my baby was born. Michael bought me a Mercedes as a thank you for giving birth to his son. Of course I was happy about it and shared the news of my son being born to my Insta. Oh man, I didn't know what was coming. Joy bombed me with a message saying that I'm rubbing it in her face that I gave birth to a baby whilst she couldn't, and how now I'm rubbing it in her face that me and Michael living in luxury whilst she and her family is struggling. She said that if I had $100,000 to spare for a car, I should have instead spent it on buying them a new place to stay, since they're fed up with renting places. She also mentioned that she wouldn't have miscarriages if I helped her more financially, instead of buying my unborn child unnecessary stuff. For some reason, whether it was my hormones or something, but I ended up telling her that her kids are not my responsibility, and that her miscarriage was a sad thing, but she has no right to make me feel like it was my fault. So, am I the a-hole for saying that her miscarriage is not my responsibility and being insensitive about it? Sounds like your hormones did what you should have from the beginning. That's life. The world doesn't stop because you're hurting or suffering. It really is her problem, not yours. She has no right to say you can't celebrate the good in your life or spend the money you own. Not the a-hole. Her blaming you for her miscarriage because you won't spend money on her is really callous, and I would think twice about taking her in again, especially with your baby under the roof. She's expecting you to dampen any joy you have over your baby. Congrats. For her own reasons. And that level of damage to the nursery has me asking questions. Was she even supervising them? She can't expect you not to plan and prepare a nursery and keep your son's birth quiet. She has 4 kids. Are you not allowed 1? Not the a-hole. A miscarriage is a terrible thing. It truly is. And people grieve differently. But she cannot reasonably expect every other person in the world to be on standby to see how she is feeling today. Everyone is a main character, but only in their own story. To everyone else, they are an NPC. Your stepsister has been playing the pressure you out of money game for a while. You and your husband can spend the money that you earned on anything you want. Your baby, your cat, your favorite charity. That is none of her business. Keep your stepsis at bay. She is toxic and will not hesitate to keep trying to emotionally manipulate you. To give some context, my 18 female, dad, 52 male, is in the process of divorcing my stepmother, 49 female. It was a hard shift on my 2 brothers, 17 male and 13 male, as we all had a good relationship with her. This is his second marriage, both of which ended with him serial cheating. My relationship with my father isn't non-existent, but it definitely classifies as unstable. So to start things off, my dad is notorious for cheating with women younger than him. I know that it happens, but I avoid that conversation. However, in the midst of the conversation with him a few days back, he mentioned he had a new girlfriend. We'll call her Lauren. He stated he wasn't looking for a relationship, but that she pursued him. I got a little upset with this because I wasn't moved on from the ending with our stepmom. Mind you, when they broke up, he lied to all of us and said that she was all around a terrible person with the hopes that we would not contact her. In addition, him and my stepmom are not even officially divorced yet. Without even asking him to, he sent me pictures of her, asking me to meet her soon. I noticed she looked extremely young. I asked him how old she was. This girl that he was with is 25. He went on to say that he took her on an international trip the past weekend. This made me furious. I said I thought it was gross that he was with a girl half his age, and how would he react if I brought home a 46-year-old as my significant other? I mentioned that I thought it was embarrassing for him to even ask me to meet a woman as his girlfriend who was closer to my age than his. I proceeded to say that he was setting a bad example for my brothers, and that all of us could have benefited from him not being in a relationship for a small amount of time after the divorce, and reiterated that he should be embarrassed of himself. Boy, did this piss him off. He essentially went on to say that he didn't want to talk about it over text, and that if I wanted to talk about it, I could drive up to his house, a 1-hour drive, if I wished to talk to him about it any further. He then called my brother, 17, to say I was being a bee, And why couldn't I just be happy for him? And Lauren's age and my dad's relationship status is none of my business. He then proceeded to say, I was going to go to her graduation and bring her a gift, but now I won't because I don't like her attitude. Now I'm wondering if it was wrong of me to not try to be supportive of his relationship, despite resenting him for what he's done. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, OP. You're totally right to shame your dad. That whole "she pursued him" is a classic blame-shifting tactic to preempt any judgment from you about him looking for a relationship so quickly. He later proceeded to call your brother to turn him against you. He's trying to undermine your completely valid criticisms before they reach your brothers so that they won't take your side. That's manipulative as duck. Not the a-hole. And your dad was very wrong to call your younger brother. He wanted validation, which you obviously, and rightfully, didn't give him, and he moved on to the next person and created more drama, and very likely has hurt your brother and put him in a difficult position between you two. Your dad sounds very selfish, immature, and I'd wager he's either narcissistic or has narcissistic tendencies. You don't have to keep people that hurt you or your loved ones close to you. Invite your stepmom to your graduation and tell your dad that temper tantrums don't even work for children, so grow up. Your dad's just a pitiful old lech, whose girlfriend is likely just looking for a sugar daddy. No fool like an old fool. There's nothing for you to do. I advise politeness and distance, and if your brothers take dad's side, because they might, avoid further discussion when possible. Get on with your life, and have a future that doesn't require a dad and a spouse around. You're not the a-hole.